Today I am going to deal with Class 5 English Reader book, and the chapter is The Boy Who Borrowed, written by Enid Blyton. Enid Blyton was a very famous English children's story writer. She was born on 11th of August 1897 and died on 28th November 1968. She was an English writer famous for writing stories for the children. And since 1930s, her books were sold, and I think 600 million copies of her books were sold. Copies, 600 million copies, that means a lot. And her books were translated into more than 90 languages. 90 languages. So you could imagine that how famous or how popular this writer was. Still, she is very popular among the children, or I can say among all the age groups. The famous books that are known to us are many, but I would like to name some of them, like the Secret 7, the Famous 5, 500 Treasure Island, then Mallory Tar's Noddy. Yes, these are her books. So today we are going to deal with one of such chapters, and that is The Boy Who Borrowed, written by Enid Mary Blyton. Now see, this is a story based upon a boy whose name is in the story Benny. Benny was a sort of a boy who loved reading. Like see, everybody has a passion for something, or I can say that everybody has a hobby. Like if I say that what is my hobby? My hobby is to paint. Similarly, you might be having your hobby of dancing, or say singing, or playing piano or guitar. So in the same way, Benny had a habit of reading book. It was his hobby. And he was very interested in reading all sort of books. But he was never satisfied with the books which he had. He always wanted a new one. But he was getting a new one only at the Christmas time. So when he was asked by his mother that Benny, what kind of books do you like? Would you like to read? Benny thought that I would love to read a book that would go on forever. That means he wanted such a book which he would be reading for his lifetime. It is not possible, obviously, but he wanted such a book. Now, for example, if suppose somebody will tell to read a dictionary, a person might be thinking, my goodness, dictionary is it's so thick, and how could I read that? A person might be finishing it within a month or a couple of months. But Benny wanted a book which would go on forever. That means lifetime. So anyway, he had 8 books with him. So what to do? He wanted more books because he had read all the books that he had. So now he started borrowing things. He used to borrow books from a library and also from his friends. So the books that he borrowed from his friends were, see, some of them I have written. The Island of Adventure, he took from Bill. See, I have written owner. Owner here doesn't mean that the particular book has been written by Bill. I am not telling that. I told that the book, it belonged to Bill. Okay. Then the Secret 7 belonged to Mary. 5 on a Treasure Island belonged to Henry. Now you might be thinking that 5 on a Treasure Island, ma'am told that the author is Enid Blyton. Yes, the author is Enid Blyton. I said that the book belonged to Mary, or the book belonged to Henry or Bill. That means that book they have purchased, not Benny. Okay, I have told about the book which belonged to these children. Now again, 2 nature books he borrowed from John. Okay. Now not only the books, he also borrowed things. Like here I have written that he borrowed a ball from Eric, a pen from Lucy, a jigsaw from Kenneth, and a rubber from Eileen. So he didn't stop only by borrowing the books. He also borrowed the things. As you can see, I have written that ball, pen, jigsaw, and rubber. Now see, one night something strange happened. He was sleeping at night. It was a night time. What he heard? He heard strange voices coming out from his study room. He was actually sleeping in his room, and his study room was just next to his room. So now I am giving you a situation. Now see, suppose you are there in your house alone in the first floor, and your parents are there in the ground floor. So now suppose you are there in the room alone, nobody else is there, and it's the night time. Suddenly you hear some voices which are not of your parents, but some strange voices. You know that those voices are not from your family members. Those voices belong to somebody else. What would you do? How would you feel? Won't you feel afraid? Of course, we will. We will feel afraid. That what kind of voices are those? So the thing happened to Benny. Benny was shocked. First of all, he thought that he might be dreaming. But gradually, when the voice became louder, he then slipped out of his bed to investigate that whether his imagination was whether whatever he heard was just an imagination or there is some truth behind it. So to know the truth, what he did, he slipped out of his bed, and then slowly he went up to the door, and then he kept his ears wide open so that he could hear the voices. What he hears? He could listen to the voices. They were angry. Those voices were of anger. They were talking among themselves that Benny is too bad. Benny is not keeping us properly. I don't belong to Benny. I belong to Bill. I belong to John. I belong to Henry. Now, my dear children, tell me that what kind of voices would have been? You are right. Those voices were of the books. The books started talking. One was telling, I don't belong to Benny. I belong to Mary. Another book started talking, I don't belong to Benny. I belong to Henry. So in this way, they started arguing. They started discussing about Benny. Benny was shocked. When he came out of his room, he saw that really the books were talking among themselves. Now suppose, let me bring a book. Suppose there is a book. This is a book, and it started talking. Hey, I don't belong to Benny. I belong to Bill. Would you imagine that a book will talk? Of course not. But that happened. Benny was very, very, very afraid. He didn't know what to do. Then he stepped out of the room and saw that all the books, they were trying to come out. They were trying to come out of his study room. They were trying to find a way to go out from the house. They found a way out of the house. They went into a little room of the hall and found an open window. From there, a little window was open, and from there they went out of just went out of the house. Benny was shocked. There was a silence. Benny went back to his bed. He was trembling. Trembling means to shake. Okay, trembling, like for example, suppose you are afraid. How will you feel? Your hands and feet, they will start shaking. That is what trembling is. So he too started trembling. He couldn't think that what was going on. He fell asleep by all those things. Then he went to his bed and he fell asleep. Asleep means what? To fall asleep. That means he went to bed, and since all those things happened and he couldn't think of that what is going on and all that, he was afraid. And then afterwards, after a moment, then he slept. When he woke up, he was laughing. Obviously, now see that he was thinking all such crazy things were going on, that books were talking among themselves, and they went out of the house from a little room, and they found an open window from where they went out of the room. All those things were in front of his eyes. But when he woke up, he was laughing, because he thought that, oh my God, what I saw, that was a dream. What a strange dream. He told about his dream to his mother. His mother too laughed. She told him, what a queer dream. Queer means strange. Okay, what a strange dream, Benny. Then after having his breakfast, then he went to his room, to his study room. What he finds? He found that only those 8 books were there. The rest of the books were not there. Now tell me, students, what would have been the condition of that boy? He was really shaking. He was really trembling out of fear, because whatever he saw, that was real. That was not at all a dream. So one thing is that he borrowed those books. Which books went away? The borrowed books went away, not the books that belonged to him. See, I have told that he possessed 8 books. 8 books were there, but he borrowed the rest of the books from his friends. Those books went away, not his books. So now he was thinking. Benny sat down suddenly. His legs were, he was feeling strange in his legs. He couldn't stand because his legs were trembling. Now he thought that was not a dream. That was a real life situation. Real life situation means the thing which has happened in real life. So that was all real. The books that he had borrowed, they all went away. Now he was thinking, he just checked whether what happened to those things that he borrowed. Those things were lying, but the books were not there. Benny was so frightened that he didn't know what to do. Suddenly his eyes fell on those things that he checked on. Yes, those things that caught his sight were like the ball, the pen, the jigsaw, everything he saw. Then he was thinking, what would happen if these things also go out of my house before my doing something? That means, you see, if at night time, he was thinking that if at night time but the books went to their owner's house, then why can't these things go? It may be possible in the broad daylight, that means in the daytime, they might go out of the house. So immediately what he did, he took his bag, he collected all the things that he borrowed, and obviously his books too, his own books, his school books. But including those school books, he collected all the books that he borrowed, all the articles that he borrowed, or all the things that he borrowed, and he kept inside the bag. Then he went to the school. Then when he reached the school, he was surrounded by his friends. Benny went very red because he was embarrassed. He was frightened. He was ashamed. Then what happened that when he went to the school, he handed everything to the children. Like, handed everything to the children means what? Like what he took, see, he took ball from Eric. So he he gave back the ball to Eric. Then what he took from Lucy, he took a pen from Lucy, so he gave back the pen to Lucy. Then what he took jigsaw from Kenneth, that also he gave back to Kenneth. Then he took rubber from Eileen, that also he gave back. All the children were surprised because he had a habit of borrowing things, but he was not giving them back. Sometimes he forgot, but sometimes he pretended. He pretended that he has not got those things. That means he was just making excuses, or sometimes he was pretending that, for example, I have taken something from you or something from somebody. Then the person will tell me that, hey, you have taken a pen from me. I will tell, pen? What sort of pen you had given? So, the way I reacted, that is what I was pretending. Okay, I was pretending that as if I have not got. That means I was dishonest. In the same way, Benny was also dishonest. But at the end of the day, what he did, he gave back all the things to the respective children. All the children were surprised. They thanked him. Then Eric told, okay, Benny, you gave all those things. We thought that you would keep them, and if you would have kept them, then that would be stealing. Obviously, if suppose I took something from somebody, but I am not giving it back, that means what? Forcibly I took. That means forcibly. I'm not telling that at the time of giving, at the time of lending, at the time of borrowing, I borrowed it forcibly, but not giving it back. That means what? I have committed a sin of stealing. Yes, that is the another way to steal the things. So similarly, Eric, his friend, he too told that, Benny, if you wouldn't have given back these things, we would have thought that you have stolen those things. Then Mary, she thanked him that, Benny, thank you so much that my book was there with me and you have returned it back. All the children told the same thing. Benny stared at everybody. He was shocked that really the books went away, and that too they went to the respective owners. Means all the books that he borrowed, that night what happened? That all the books went away from his house, and they went away, but he has not seen that where they went. But they managed to find their owner's house, and they were there with their owner. That's why Mary thanked, right? That you have returned my book. Benny was shocked. That means the books managed to go to their owner's place. After that, Benny took a promise that he will never borrow things. And even if he borrows things, he will give it within a stipulated time. It's not that I have taken something from somebody and I'll return it back suppose after 10 years or after 5 years. That is a long gap of period. If you have taken something from somebody, you must promise that you will give it back in such and such, or suppose 1 day or 2 days. But beyond that is dishonesty. So children, here we have learned one lesson, that borrowing is not good. If you have something, be satisfied. Satisfaction is the biggest factor. And yes, if you have borrowed something, or if you want to borrow something, just be sure to give it away back in a stipulated time, or in such a period of time where others will think that yes, you are not a dishonest person, you are honest. If you have asked, like for example, sometimes it happens that somebody borrows a copy from you when person wants to write notes, but he or she doesn't give you back. Suppose you have told that no, I want it the next day, but the person remains absent, or she or he doesn't give you the note copies that you have the next day. Then that means what? You become very angry. In the same way, if that thing happens to us, that means we shouldn't ever do such dishonesty to others also. So here the story ends. I hope you have learned a lot many things from this chapter, and I think I am able to explain it clearly. Anyway, so here our chapter ends, and we'll meet soon. Bye bye. Thank you.